Have you ever wondered how many times a single moment can change everything? Imagine a dog in its noble duty, saving lives and becoming a hero without even knowing it. What would have happened if Hawk hadn't been there that day? How would the story have unfolded without his keen sense of smell? These are questions that make us reflect on the importance of the small heroes who, without seeking it, leave an indelible mark. It is the year 2018 in Canada, a country known for its vast landscapes and peaceful culture. However, beneath that calm, a dark drug trafficking business operated in the shadows. On the country's highways, trucks loaded with illegal goods moved silently, carrying tons of prohibited products. Among these vehicles, one in particular did not stand out, yet inside, it concealed a danger far greater than anyone could have imagined. This seemingly innocent truck was at a checkpoint of the Canadian police. It was just one of the many that passed through the station daily without raising suspicion. The inspection seemed routine, but that day a very special member of the police unit was ready to conduct a search that would change the course of the investigation. Hawk, a Labrador retriever known for his keen sense of smell, was on the scene. Hawk was much more than a police dog. He had deep, dark eyes that reflected years of training and experience. His light brown coat made him look like a friendly and approachable animal. But his nose said it all. He was an expert in drug detection. He didn't need words or complicated gestures, just a command from his handler, and he knew exactly what to do. The bond between Hawk and his handler was unique, built on trust and a connection that only those who share the same mission can understand. From a distance, Hawk was already sniffing the air, prepared to do his job. He was a calm dog, but his energy surged when it was time to do what he did best: detect. The officers accompanying him fully trusted him. They knew there were few things Hawk couldn't find. He wasn't just a companion, he was a key piece of an elite team. But that day, Hawk had a special mission. With professional composure, the dog began to inspect the truck. His snout moved in all directions, searching for any sign. The air was cool and the sun was beginning to set on the horizon, adding a melancholic touch to the scene. But Hawk was focused. His work always came first. It didn't take long before his behavior changed. He stopped in front of a hidden compartment, his body tense, his eyes shining with the certainty that he had found something. The officers with him didn't hesitate. They immediately moved in to inspect the area Hawk had indicated. Adrenaline started to rise. Meanwhile, the dog remained silent, watching and waiting. His job was already done. Now it was just a matter of human confirmation of what his instincts already knew. The secret compartment opened slowly, as if guarding a well-kept secret. And there, inside what seemed to be just a simple shelf filled with spare parts and materials, concealed something much more dangerous. Packages of cocaine, carefully hidden, camouflaged among cardboard boxes. The scene was striking. The officers, though mostly accustomed to these types of discoveries, still felt the tension of not knowing how big the shipment might be. But everything changed at that moment when Hawk, the Labrador, took a step back, ensuring that his work was complete. "It's a big shipment," exclaimed one of the officers. The discovery turned out to be one of the most significant seizures in the region in years. The packages, stacked in multiple rows, were valued at over $1 million. Hawk's sense of smell had been the first link in a chain that would dismantle a drug trafficking network involved in illegal activities far beyond what had been uncovered. At that moment, silence took over. The officers stared at the cargo in amazement, but their eyes soon shifted to Hawk, who remained calm, without boasting, without needing recognition. For him, it was just another day on the job. Though his role was indispensable, He had no understanding of monetary value or the magnitude of his discovery. He only knew he had completed his mission. Through this seizure, the Canadian police managed to dismantle a drug trafficking network that operated not only in Canada but also in neighboring territories. The impact of this operation was immediate. The capture of those responsible was only a matter of time thanks to the information obtained from Hawk's discovery. But beyond the logic of police work, something much deeper was happening at that very moment. The bond between a man and his dog had yielded results that couldn't be measured by statistics alone. Hawk's companions knew that without him, things would have been different. The teamwork between the officers and the dog proved something that is often overlooked. Animals possess extraordinary abilities that can save lives. Hawk hadn't just found drugs. He had found an opportunity to prevent thousands of people from falling into the trap of drug trafficking. The police team was visibly grateful. "It's incredible how a dog can do what we cannot," said one of the officers, referring to Hawk's unique sensory abilities. As the agents began organizing the next steps of the operation, Hawk approached his handler, who gently stroked him in a gesture of appreciation. The bond between them was not just professional. Over the years, Hawk and his handler had shared countless moments of trust, companionship, and affection. For Hawk, there was no leader other than the man who guided him. And for his handler, the job was not just a routine. It was a joint mission, a shared objective. Hawk was not only known for his ability to detect drugs. Throughout his career, he had faced high-risk situations, sometimes involving violence, sometimes with palpable tension in the air. Each mission was a challenge, but Hawk never hesitated. His bravery was innate, and his determination was almost human. But, like every hero, it was not just about finding drugs or following orders. It was about the deep bond he had with the humans around him. On one occasion, his trainer shared an anecdote that spoke volumes about his character. During a training session at a testing field, Hawk had found a package hidden under a heavy metal structure. The most impressive thing was not just that he found it, but that before moving forward, he remained by the package without touching it, waiting for the officer accompanying him to arrive and secure the area. At that moment, his trainer realized that Hawk had not only learned to search, he had learned to protect, to take care of his team. That attitude of loyalty was reflected in every operation, every time Hawk went into action. It was no longer just about being a police dog. It was about being a fundamental piece of an extended family. Every member of the unit considered him a true companion. To them, Hawk was not just an animal, but a full-fledged member of the team. And as such, his success was celebrated with the same joy as that of any other officer. After the operation, Hawk was rewarded with a special feast, a tradition his team upheld after every successful mission. But the real recognition for Hawk did not come in the form of material rewards. What truly mattered to him was the affection he received from his team, the quiet moments when his work was done, and he could enjoy a gentle stroke or simply lie down beside his handler. As the case came to a close, Hawk became a legend within the Canadian police force. The media called him the canine hero, but for those who worked with him, Hawk was more than that. He was a tangible example of what loyalty, teamwork, and dedication could achieve. And through his skill, a criminal network was dismantled, saving hundreds, perhaps thousands of people from the devastating effects of drugs. The impact of his work was not limited to the police and authorities. The community also recognized the value of his efforts. In the days following the operation, events were held to honor the bravery of police dogs. However, what truly left a mark on people's hearts was the message that emerged from this story. The collaboration between humans and animals has the power to change the fate of many. Of course, Hawk was not the only dog of his kind. Across Canada, other service dogs played crucial roles in the fight against crime. But Hawk's story stood out because he didn't just fulfill his duty, he exceeded everyone's expectations. His ability to detect something so minuscule in such a vast environment was almost magical, turning what seemed like a routine operation into a lesson about what animals can contribute to humanity. In his case, the lesson was clear. Sometimes the most important answers come in unexpected forms. Who could have imagined that a dog would be the central hero of such a significant anti-drug operation? Hawk's story was not just about his skills. It was also about love, dedication, and the mutual collaboration between him and his team. After that operation, Hawk continued his work with the same seriousness and joy as always. He did not seek fame or recognition. For him, the reward was knowing that he had helped make the world a safer place. While officers congratulated him and the media dedicated headlines to his achievement, Hawk simply returned to his routine, always ready for the next mission. But Hawk's true victory in the end was not in the news or the awards. It was in the quiet moments after each operation, when he returned home with his handler. There, in the peace of his home, he reunited with his other family, his trainer, his partner, the person who had been by his side through everything. Even though Hawk had been celebrated as a hero throughout the region, the life of a police dog was not always in the spotlight. After the operation, routine returned to normal. The work continued, and Hawk, like his fellow officers, sought nothing more than to fulfill his duty. The only difference was that now, the bond between him and his trainers had grown even stronger. They knew that Hawk had a unique value, but the most remarkable thing about him was his ability to move forward no matter the magnitude of what had happened before. In the months that followed, Hawk continued participating in operations, always with the same dedication. The trails weren't always as easy to detect as the one in the truck filled with cocaine, but Hawk never stopped. It was in his nature to give his best, as if every day were a new opportunity to prove his worth. Each mission was a new challenge, and although his sharp sense of smell guided him, what truly stood out was his tenacity, his ability to never give up, even when the situation seemed complex or dangerous. One day, Hawk was called in to investigate a possible drug hideout in an isolated industrial sector. The location was known for illicit activity, but no one knew for sure how deep the problem ran. The weather was freezing, snow covered the streets, and the air felt heavy, as if foreshadowing that something big was about to happen. The unit arrived at the site, hoping that Hawk's experience would make a difference. As soon as the team approached the building, Hawk was already on high alert, sniffing the cold air and detecting signs of recent activity. Without warning, he began walking toward a secluded area of the site, where there seemed to be less movement. It was as if the dog had an invisible radar, a deep connection with his surroundings that allowed him to perceive things nearly imperceptible to the human eye. At that moment, the officers decided to follow him, not because they suspected anything, but because they trusted him completely. After a few minutes of searching, Hawk stopped in front of a small, forgotten shed. His posture was different, as if he were waiting for the right moment. His eyes gleamed with a mix of certainty and patience. The officers, somewhat surprised by his behavior, cautiously began inspecting the area. As they removed a few broken wooden planks from the floor, they uncovered something alarming. Smaller packages hidden beneath layers of dust and wood, all packed with a white substance. The cocaine was concealed, perfectly stashed away in what appeared to be a place forgotten by time. The discovery was shocking, and once again, Hawk had been the key to uncovering a drug trafficking network that had been operating under the radar. The value of his intervention was once more immeasurable. This time, the operation was even more complex, as those involved were not only trafficking drugs but also engaging in money laundering. What initially seemed like a routine find quickly escalated into a high-level operation, requiring more time, more officers, and a meticulous investigative process. What truly amazed the officers was Hawk's ability to locate that hideout in such an unwelcoming place. As a specialized working dog, Hawk didn't just detect scents, he had an unfailing instinct for sensing when something was off. Sometimes those subtle details went unnoticed by humans, but Hawk never missed them. His intuition never failed. The way he approached every situation was a reminder that true greatness wasn't in visible achievements alone, but in the small, everyday actions that contributed to a larger mission. After the operation, the officers once again gathered around Hawk and praised him for his incredible performance. It wasn't a public celebration like the previous one, but the gratitude they felt for his intervention was more than evident. Hawk's work had not only dismantled another drug trafficking cell, but also prevented dangerous substances from reaching the streets of the community. And while Hawk might not have understood the full implications of his work, his joy came from something much simpler: the bond with his team and the satisfaction of having done what he did best. Hawk was not a dog who sought attention or the spotlight. What motivated him was the certainty that his work had a purpose. In every operation, Hawk proved that the true essence of his role was not just in what he detected, but in the responsibility he took on while doing it. For him, every completed task was an opportunity to contribute to something greater than himself, something that could only be understood through the deep connection between humans and the animals who worked by their side. The seasons began to change. As spring approached, temperatures rose, and field operations became more frequent. Hawk adapted seamlessly to every environment, whether in the freezing Canadian winter or under the scorching summer sun. His ability to perform under pressure, regardless of the circumstances, became his defining trait. Always calm, always focused. However, as operations continued, Hawk began to show signs of aging. His body, though still in excellent shape, was no longer that of a young, newly trained Labrador. Officers started to notice that his steps were slower, that his reflexes were not as quick as before. It was natural. Like any living being, Hawk had given his best for years. Wrinkles began to appear on his face, and his energy seemed to wane slightly, but his heart remained that of a hero. This was an emotional moment for his team. Watching Hawk grow older was a reminder of how fleeting time is, of how quickly the years pass, and of how, despite his tireless dedication, animals also have their own life cycle. However, no one on the team considered retiring him just yet. They knew that Hawk, even with his slower pace, was still a vital part of the team, though future missions might require a little more human support. As the months passed, Hawk continued working on smaller operations, always maintaining the same level of professionalism. Even though he no longer participated in the most complex missions, his presence remained crucial. His colleagues recognized that Hawk was not just a dog. He was a spiritual leader within the team. Every time he entered the training room, the officers felt inspired by his dedication and resilience. Though Hawk's life was changing, his legacy remained a source of motivation for everyone around him. One day, during an operation in a small coastal town, Hawk was called to detect a possible narcotics entry through a nearby port. Although he was no longer as fast as before, his sense of smell was still impeccable. As he walked through the port, his eyes gleamed with the same intensity as always. It was as if, despite his aging body, Hawk never stopped feeling that deep connection to his work and mission. Without needing instructions, he began making his way toward a suspicious container, When the officers followed him, they found a series of methamphetamine packages carefully concealed among legitimate cargo. The operation was a success, and once again, Hawk had played a crucial role in dismantling a drug trafficking network. At that moment, the officers knew that Hawk had left an indelible mark on their hearts and within their unit. With each completed mission, Hawk moved one step closer to the end of his career. However, it wasn't recognition that kept him going. It was the pure satisfaction of having served his community and changed the fate of so many people. Though his body no longer responded with the same agility as before, Hawk's spirit remained intact. Time had passed, but his ability to love, serve, and remain loyal never wavered. It was on a quiet afternoon as the team watched him rest after a mission that they realized Hawk had done more for them than words could ever express. His eyes showed signs of exhaustion, but also a deep peace. They knew he had given everything he had. And though the end of his career was near, Hawk would always remain a symbol of what it truly meant to be a hero. The team decided to honor his legacy in a unique way. In a simple yet emotional ceremony, Hawk was awarded a Medal of Honor, and his name was engraved on the wall of the headquarters as a permanent reminder of his bravery and dedication. That medal did not just represent the work of a police dog. It symbolized the unbreakable bond between humans and animals who fight side by side for a safer world. Hawk spent his final days at the headquarters with his handler, retired, but always close to the officers who had stood by him throughout his career. Though he was no longer in the field, his presence remained invaluable to the team. And so, like a beacon of hope and loyalty, Hawk continued to be remembered by all who had known him. His story lives on not only in the memories of the officers who worked with him, but also in the hearts of those who benefited from his bravery. Hawk was not just a hero for finding drugs or dismantling drug trafficking networks. He was a hero because, through his dedication, he taught everyone that true greatness lies in selfless service, in loyalty, and in unconditional love for those we protect. Through stories like Hawk's, we understand that animals do not merely accompany us, they teach us to be better, braver, and more compassionate. In the lesson Hawk leaves behind, we find a profound truth about the connection between species. No matter how different we are, we can work together to achieve a common goal. In the end, Hawk's story is much more than that of a police dog who detected a drug shipment. It is a story of bravery, loyalty, and the power of friendship between humans and animals. A story that will never be forgotten because heroes like Hawk do not appear every day. And so we conclude another incredible tale of courage and heroism. On your channel, Animal Heroes, we celebrate all those extraordinary beings who, regardless of their species, have shown remarkable bravery. If this story has inspired you, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing stories. See you in the next adventure where heroism knows no limits.